Okay, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, I think the actual stock market as a whole will go down quite a lot soon, but later than some people are expecting that at least have the same idea portrayed as me. We'll go over TA and we'll go over some other just general economic factors, okay? So here's one. Every single time an IPO has come into history, we have caused a market top. Not only that, but we've also released it pretty much at the market's all-time high, apart from the first one. So why is this the case? Okay, well, to put it simply, well, private investors are able to buy into the stocks before they're released publicly. For example, people can buy Anthropic, and well, some people can buy OpenAI and Anthropic right now, even though they're not into the stock market right now. So that's kind of what happened with SpaceX. And as you know, if you do know, SpaceX, U.S. citizens had the money in pensions or was putting money into the pensions. Well, they were forced to buy into SpaceX. Obviously, the value of the pension doesn't go up or down, but they're using that pension to buy into SpaceX, which was at the exact all-time high, which led to SpaceX having a level 60% sell-off because obviously smart money or the people who got in involved way earlier, they wanted to sell at the all-time high. They wanted as many buyers as possible. Pretty much exactly why every single IPO in history leaves the top or severely underperforms. So now let's go over why didn't SpaceX tank the market like everyone expected? Well, it tanked. Obviously, SpaceX is down 60%, so it's not like it didn't do the job. But if you had so they changed rules to allow SpaceX, OpenAI, and Anthropic coming in. If you have, for example, let's say you have SpaceX coming into the market and you bought into all three of these stocks. If you buy into SpaceX and sell at the exact top of SpaceX, you wouldn't want the market dying relative to SpaceX. You would want to to diversify your money. You would want to rearrange or rotate your money into certain stocks that are into the Nasdaq, into the S&P 500, or just the S&P 500 itself. You'd want to keep the S&P 500 alive, the Nasdaq alive, while maintaining the sell-off from SpaceX because you want as much money as possible from SpaceX. You want to take your profits out, right? So why didn't the market die when SpaceX came in? Well, that's because you have two other IPOs coming in. You have OpenAI and Anthropic. If the market was to die, but the stock market's relative value was way lower than it is now, well, they're not making a profit on OpenAI and Anthropic, or at least not as big as a profit as they want to. So 100% their plan was to keep price up here. Now, whether they range over the next XYZ amount of months like they did over here, or whether they keep sending price higher so they can sell low at higher prices, that all depends on economic factors and also whatever the price action gives you. We'll know through time, okay? But regardless of that, what can we expect over the next few months? Okay, so we have Anthropic coming in within September, October. At least that's the estimate. OpenAI, who knows when? That's 2026 to 2027 to early 2027. One of these two dates. Now, I'm more leaning towards late 2026 because if you're gonna add Anthropic in, you're probably going to add OpenAI shortly after, but they probably will space them in the same way where you have SpaceX here, you're going to have Anthropic around this time. I mean, you're probably going to respace it, probably the exact same. So December to January, roughly, would be decent spacing for it. At least then you keep the stock market at pretty high value. Now, not only that, all three of these stocks are AI stocks, as you know. Now, however, these AI stocks are lending money to each other and they are claiming it as earnings. So, for example, I don't know, you'll give you'll give Nvidia a million for microchips. Nvidia will count that as a million earned, and they will send back part of the money, and they won't count that as expenses, and OpenAI will count that as profits. So basically, you just spawned money out of nowhere because you just lended money to each other back and forth and paid off the loan essentially. But both companies marked that as a profit and didn't mark any as expenditure. There's your earnings bubble. These stocks cannot earn enough money. Well, these stocks lie about their revenue and they're not actually transparent about it. So they're way overvalued on what they should be anyway in the first place, let alone that when they're opening, they are very overvalued. Of course they're overvalued. If you are a guy who bought I don't know SpaceX at $1.50 because you're some elite rich guy who has access to this, and then it's at 200 when it opens or 160 when it opens, and it pops up to 200, I think you're gonna take your profits, right? Of course you are. So exactly the same with the other three stocks. Now, of course, since these are all three AI stocks, when the actual crisis arrives of, oh wow, they're lending money, they're lying about how much money they earn. What do you think's going to happen when you have three, technically, when you have three AI stocks majorly selling off on open, and after the third one, Well, the stock market doesn't need to maintain its high prices anymore. Because what would the benefit be of maintaining the high prices anymore? You don't have another IPO coming into the market. Who knows? God knows when. 10 years from now, maybe 20 years from now. Absolutely no benefit to keeping prices up if you're going to take profit, right? So when is the market crash going to be? I'd say right after OpenAI comes into the market, depending whether it comes earlier than Anthropic or not. But that's very unlikely for me. I think that's very unlikely. So I definitely would expect a range or just grinding up continuously until Anthropic comes in, and then when OpenAI comes in, you might even actually do something like this. We have this as your first tap, right? You keep slowly coming up, whatever. Get your second tap. This is when OpenAI or Anthropic comes in, and then you slowly grind up for your third tap. Now that's a Model 1 distribution, or whether you get a Model 2 distribution, which is just a lower high. Now that would be a distributed range while you have three IPOs coming in. That would mark three highs, three IPOs, large distribution on the high time frame. Now that would be very aligned with the idea that the stock market will go down. Now, what's expectations or at least price targets? Well, in my opinion, I think the March low April is going to go. At least for a shallow sweep at the minimum, right? That seems likely. That seems very likely considering the type of bubble it is, considering it's an earnings bubble, etc. Yeah, these stocks can't maintain the value that they're priced at. There's absolutely no way they can. Exactly the reason why SpaceX died 60% on launch. You should expect the exact same thing with OpenAI. You should expect the exact same thing for Anthropic. And once all three are done, you should expect that to retaliate into the market. And especially the fact that they can't even maintain their own prices, you should expect that to retaliate even more. Keep in mind, every single top in history, if you remember the chart, has caused either underperformance or a major top. Now you're getting three of them which lie about their earnings. If you don't believe me, you can go look up their earnings. They lie about their earnings. You can go find that publicly. They lie about their earnings. They cannot maintain the value that they're at. That's the unfortunate truth. So, well, once price starts distributing, once you start adding those three stocks into the market, well, two more now. I'd be very worried. I'd be looking for shorts, or at least taking profits and adding later if you are involved in the stock market. I don't think it's worth it just to hold and sit through a big crash that you know is going to be a big crash because stock market on average does 10% a year. Cool. Outperform the market on very obvious. Like if it tells you it right in front of you, why would you not do it? You're not missing out on anything. If you're missing out on anything, you're missing out 5%, which that 5%, whatever, from the exact all-time high is very unlikely. Just keep that in mind. You're gonna have maybe a what drop would this be? Let's say we take the high one more time or two more times. We go up a little bit, and we take this low. Yeah, okay. So you're gonna take a 28% hit because you're scared of not making 5%. On the off chance you're wrong, when is the IPO theory has never been wrong in history, let alone that the IPO, these specific IPOs lie about their earnings, let alone that it's three of them coming in a short period when the market's never ever been able to even handle one, let alone three. So, be aware this rotating of money and keeping the stock market alive is very artificial, just so they can sell at high prices for the other two stocks. So, would I be willing to accept higher prices for the next few years? No. No. Not until this low goes at the minimum. No way. Unless you go to like around this demand zone and then you range for a while, you get some sort of reason bottom, fine, and just you can add on the way down. But come on, come on, guys. There's no way that the market holds the value it's at now over the next three stocks. So I mean, be aware to TP, take profits, move money around, and by the time the stock market's at the top, what's gonna be at a bottom? Bitcoin, right? I know a lot of stock investors, they don't like Bitcoin, they don't like crypto, but you can't deny the facts. Every single cycle has bottomed on the exact cycle date, which this cycle is expected to end around October 28th, which surprisingly, that is only a few months estimate away from when OpenAI enters the market. So you have good buying opportunity and good selling opportunities. I mean, there's opportunities all around. I think 2026 is going to be one of the best years financially speaking for any trader, any investor, as long as they play their cards right. I think this year has been or will be the largest in terms of opportunity for the next however many decades. I don't think there will be an opportunity in the market like this for a very, very long time. Just with the way things are aligned, they haven't ever been before. It's a very good time to be an investor and having money to invest in 1,000,000%. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, keep trading. Good luck. I post daily content. Consider subscribing. And I don't really do content about the stock market or Nasdaq. I just thought, you know what? I trade the Nasdaq. I know what's going on. I'm gonna go put my thoughts about it because I have very high conviction about that. Anyway, if you want to consider subscribing, here's my Bitcoin track record so far, called the bottom, the top, etc. I'm not gonna repeat this every single video. I've got every bottom, I've got every top, and I've explained in detail when I'm high time frame bullish, high time frame bearish, etc. And why I give you the exact ways to trade. For example, in this video, on this dot right here, I call that that's a big distribution. And right at the end of the video, which I consider was why you should watch the videos all the way to the end, because you might miss something. I only mentioned this being a scenario distribution of sweeping this high, like hit this distribution to continue lower, which I explain better in the video. I don't speed run like this now, but I'm ending the video quickly. Anyway, consider subscribing. I haven't been wrong yet. Maybe I'm wrong on this dot, but only temporarily. I still think we're overall bearish, so I don't really care. I think this goes down. Regardless, consider subscribing. I haven't been wrong yet. Touch wood. If I am, at the end of the day, I have high conviction on my ideas, and I'm very rarely wrong. So consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification.